So, it's been a while since I did one of these BS podcasts. I'm sure a lot of people are sort of new to the channel and they probably haven't seen this one before, but this is a segment of my channel where uh, it's planned to be just a bunch of just me sort of rambling around, podcast style. I usually just put up some image of whatever I'm talking about. Um, and it's my genuine thoughts on the subject. Like no script, no nothing. I don't really script a lot of my stuff anyway, but like I usually have like an outline. These have no outline. These are pretty much straight from the heart, and I like doing this kind of stuff. I wish if you have stuff that you'd like me to talk about, please let me know if like this kind of style. Um, and I guess I do a slight apology. This is another Patreon request, although it was a taste of manga request, and I did read the first volume of today's subject matter, Sangatsu no Lion, or March Comes In Like a Lion, which I actually already have a video about how much I love this anime, and I'll link that down below in the description. So go check out that video. Big thank you to Nia for her kind donation. But upon reading that, I found that it was like relatively close to the anime, and there wasn't a ton of difference. And she originally had also suggested either I do the manga or watch the live action movie, which I can't seem to find a safe version to watch it in. So Nia, if you're watching this, I apologize. And perhaps I'll schedule it for a future watch along thing where we can, me and all my patrons or whatever, could Gaio and pirate up some shit. That's another thing with these. There's going to be typically there's a lot of swearing in here, so, go get ready, oh. So what the hell was I talking about? Oh, okay. So, Sangatsu no Lion. If you haven't seen my video about it, or you haven't seen the show, you need to stop watching this and go watch the show, because it's fucking great. Sangatsu no Lion is, at this point, I believe a 44-episode, still running series done by Studio Shaft, based upon a manga by Chika Umino, famously of Honey and Clover fame. And it's about this professional shogi player who's a teenage kid named Rei Kiriyama, and he's very, very young to be a professional, and he's very, very, very good at shogi. He's currently climbing a ladder to be a better shogi player in the world of professional shogi. There's a ranking system, and he's slowly climbing up. And if you know nothing about shogi, you don't really need to. I addressed this in my other video. It's kind of just like Japanese chess, and they explain it a little bit. They explain it in the manga too, and there's segments of the show that explain this. But in the long run, you don't really need to know shogi, because this show is about so many friggin' things, man. Like, on its surface, it's sort of like an almost sports drama show, because Ray has had a crazy upbringing, and both of his parents are dead, and they died in this accident, and he was brought in to his dad's friend's family. His dad's friend was a very, very good shogi player, and he actually already had his own children, and Ray turned out to be better at shogi than his own children, which obviously causes a bunch of drama. So not only is the poor guy, without his parents and shit, is now in this family where his two, I guess, foster siblings, step siblings, hate him. And so unveils the drama aspect of the show, and sort of that sort of shapes Ray into the sort of calm, isolated person that he is. There's also scenes with bullying, and not necessarily just physical bullying, but like in Ray's upbringing, you see that like the kids sort of abandoned him, left him alone, ignored him, as it were, because he was just trying to study shogi to impress his step foster father, whatever, the new dad. So he kind of fixated himself on his passion, which was shogi, which on one end is a cool thing, but on the other end, is very, very sad. And I've heard some people say that this show seems like it's kind of the show that's sad for the sake of being sad, and I would disagree with that sentiment, because it's it's sad for the right reasons. Like, it's not. I didn't like cry to the show or anything, but I came very close. It's the amount of relatability that the show has, especially for me. Like, I was this might be weird for if you. I mean, you can't see me right now, but like the people that know me IRL that watch my videos, and if you've been a fan for a while, I'm a bigger dude. I'm a former football player, track guy. I'm 6'1", 270. I'm a I'm a rather large young chap, I would say. And if you don't know me, I might invoke a sense of a slight fear, but once you know me, that'll go away fast. Believe me. But I was certainly bullied growing up, both physically and emotionally, I would say. And I can't speak for everyone, but I will say that in my experience, and I think in Ray's experience, the emotional bullying is almost more impactful than anything people can do to you physically. And I feel like everybody experiences a little bit of bullying growing up, but I haven't seen an anime where it's like portrayed as accurately as it is in this show, especially within season 2, where the series sort of fixates on other characters. Like Ray's story is amazing in itself, but he's just sort of like part of this world of March Comes In Like a Lion, where the story sort of shifts between characters, and not really in an episodic manner. It's more in terms of like an arc, with the regular characters coming back and forth. So, like I was saying, in season 2 of the show, we get a bullying arc, and I feel it's incredibly accurate. And I mean, I haven't been in the Japanese school system before, but if I learned anything from A Silent Voice, it seems like sometimes the teachers over there don't necessarily interject enough into the bullying aspect of it. And in some instances, like with like what I was talking about with like emotional bullying, I mean, the kids are just gonna do that. Like, the teachers can't really force kids to not like. They don't not play with that kid. Like, physically sit down and play with him. But I mean, I had that sort of like, I was in a school growing up where I was in a very small private school growing up, and I didn't fit in with a whole lot of people, and that kind of sucked. And it wasn't until like my later years of like middle school there that I actually sort of had some friends, and even then they were mostly the people that lived near me. So it's kind of like we just saw each other all the time, and even some of those people were still cool. Still talk to some of them to this day, but some of them not so much, and that's where physical bullying can come in as well when you're growing up in your teens and so forth. But I think March Comes Like a Lion hits the nail on the head when it comes to just like emotional development with things just tossed around in your life. Like, I don't want to like, my other video talks about like the show in detail more so I don't want to fixate on plot, but this is more so a thematic why I love the series. So I love its coverage of emotional development. I think it's accurate. I think it makes Ray a very interesting character. It makes the side characters very relatable. Has a myriad of different characters getting copious amounts of development. You got multiple different shogi players, on their path to glory. You get a lot of their backstories. You have the three sisters who are raising Ray. Essentially, basically looking after him, giving him meals, taking care of him because he doesn't really know how to take care of himself. And there's that stark contrast between Ray's cold, lonely life by himself and the warm embrace of being with I can't remember the last name at the moment, the three sisters that he lives with. Hina, is it Hina, Akari, and Momo? I think I don't remember their last name though. And yeah, it's just like I love Ray as a character. I love how, and I also like when I first started to realize that the series was not just about him. I was like, oh man, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. But this amazing thing happened where it wasn't just like one episode on another person. It might have been that for like some shogi players, but there's this distinct moment in season 1 where it shifts to this other shogi player guy, and it talks about how he grew up in like the sticks and how he's like the only one from there to be pro and stuff like that. And I really liked how the show stayed solid. Like, you could have done like a whole show based upon that dude. You could do a whole show on Ray. You could do a whole show on the sisters. It's kind of like I like Durarara a lot, because a show like Durarara is not really it's sort of about specific people, but it's more about Ikebukuro, like as a city, right? So March Comes in Like a Lion, in a similar sense, is sort of less about anybody in particular and more about sort of life's turmoil and in like emotional tornadoes, like crashing into each other and trying to find stability within that, and so I don't think it's not sad for the sake of just being sad. I mean, it might make you feel that way, but it's also a very uplifting show. Like, it's very Shaft's animation and Chika Umino's art in the manga also does this. There's such a stark contrast between these like serious epic shots of like characters glaring at one another or something, or characters deep in emotional thought. And then you also get these like silly moments with like the cats, and the cats are really hungry for food and shit. And then you got like Momo, who's the youngest sister, and she just wants like candy, not candy. She just wants to like play and shit. And it's very jovial at those moments, and it does tone shifts perfectly. I have a whole video about how tone shifts are important, and this is a perfect example of how to nail it, because it's not. Another show that I like that sort of does this is Noragami, but Noragami can get on my nerves at some moments because sometimes the tone shift is a little too harsh. In these, while you have multiple scenes in episodes that vary in levels of like seriousness, they balance out each other. Like, you have like serious moments overlapping jovial things. Like, you'll have characters trying to brush stuff off with a jovial moment, but internally they're still thinking about the serious event, which I think is very accurate of life. Like, underneath like the masks that we wear, right? We all have shit that we worry about like all the time. Whether it's like paying bills or shit, something, or job, or family, girlfriend, whatever, boyfriend, whatever. You have stuff that you're constantly really worrying about, right? And what do? You have to alleviate stress in some way, right? So you try to find the jovial aspects of life. You try to find what makes you feel better. You try to find what makes you relax. You try to find what makes you warm amidst the cold, right? And March Comes in Like a Lion is another example of that. Like, you have several characters just trying to live. And I think it's a very accurate representation of that. And it is certainly one of my favorite anime of all time for that reason. It's still airing. They could, I guess, fuck it up, but I don't know. Season 2 is... They're both wonderful. I think I kind of liked Season 1 a tad better, but Season 2 is still amazing. Like, that's... To even say that, like, in the back of my mind, it's like, oh, that's sacrilege, it's a great show. They're both, like, 10 out of 10s. Like, one just might be, like, a 10.5. If you haven't seen it, I highly, highly recommend it. Like, I don't see anybody really hating this. Even if you're someone that had, like, just watches, like, Dragon Ball or, like, just like action type shows, give this a try, because I think that this would be the show that would break you into like other types of anime, because it's a lot of different things going on. Like there's the sport aspect of shogi. There's the slice of life aspect of him living with the people who are basically trying to raise him, and then there's the drama show aspect of his past, his upbringing, and there's so many different levels of like this shogi pyramid, and just like you learn that like even the smallest things that you're doing are affecting people on like a big scale. Like Ray will beat somebody in shogi, right? And it might be an older guy, and he might be forced. He might have to make a tough decision. Where he's like, am I going to retire, or am I going to let myself get demoted to this other level? Should I bother playing anymore? This one game, so much rests on this one game. Like, there's so much pressure in these games at times, and you don't even have to know the game of shogi, and I think that's remarkably done by Shaft and Shiku Umino and everybody who has made Sangatsu no Lion. And you took something that could have been pretty alien, and you made it pretty relatable, in my opinion. If you've seen March Comes in Like a Lion, let me know what you thought about it. Let me know what you thought about it down below. I, for one, loved the show. Like I said, one of my favorites. It's expensive as hell on Blu-ray, but I still buy it anyway. Thank you, Aniplex, for that. And I really hope that we get a season 3 at some point. I really want to thank Nia once more for bringing this up, because I made a Sangatsu no Lion video a while ago, and while I'm happy with it, it's I didn't get to really talk about my cathartic connection with it. And it's these type of videos where I'll talk about like my personal life and stuff like that, like the bullying aspect or whatever. And believe me, I know there's people that dealt with much harsher shit than I did. So do not play the world's smallest fiddle for Miasma at all. Like, if you're going through some hard shit, try and reach out to people. Try and find that warmth in life, or try and see if there's something in your life that you could change that would better that situation. Try to be proactive, instead of reactive. And also watch March Comes in Like a Lion if you want some level of relatability there. But maybe you want some escape. I kind of get that too. Maybe you just want to watch, Yu Yu Hakusho, and you want to watch Hiei do the Dragon of the Darkness Flame and roast a guy. I get that shit too, because that shit's also fire. Get it? If you guys like these kind of videos, let me know down below. And check out my Patreon as well if you can. Big thank you to J Chip Show, Lax, Warpbait, and Nia-chan. Thank you guys so much for supporting what I do. It really means a lot to me. Nia, hopefully at some point, and even my other patrons too, we can watch that live action Sangatsu no Lion as a group at some point. Just know that the manga is also wonderful. The show is wonderful, and I hope that you continue to enjoy it, and I hope anybody out there who hasn't seen it goes and checks it out. And thank you so much, guys, for listening to me. And my name is Miasma, and I'll see you next time.